For thousands of years, the entire civilization of ancient Egypt was really built on this one powerful idea, the concept of the two lands. So today we're going to decode what that actually means and why it was the secret sauce to one of the longest-lasting empires in human history. All right, let's get into it. It all starts with this, a pretty strange-looking crown, right? This is called the pshent, the double crown of the pharaohs. And if you look at it, it's not really one crown. It's one crown, the tall white one, literally just jammed inside another one, the wide red one. And that brings us to the big question here. Why would the absolute rulers of this massive unified kingdom, people who were seen as living gods, why would they wear a crown that looks like two different things just stuck together? The answer tells you everything you need to know about ancient Egypt. To find the first clue, we're not going to look at kings or gods just yet. Nope. We have to look at geography, specifically the one thing that made Egypt possible, the Nile River. See, the thing is, before it was this giant unified empire, ancient Egypt was actually two completely separate kingdoms. And they were defined entirely by the flow of the Nile. They were known, pretty simply, as Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. Okay, now this is where it gets a little weird and kind of counterintuitive. Because the Nile flows north, from deep in Africa up to the Mediterranean Sea, Upper Egypt is actually in the south, where the river's elevation is higher, and Lower Egypt is up in the north, in that flat, marshy delta. So you've got two very distinct lands and two very distinct cultures. All right, so if we had two different Egypts, how in the world did they become one? Well, that story belongs to one legendary king who basically forged a single powerful nation. For a long, long time, these two lands were rivals. But then, right around 3000 BC, a ruler from the south, a king named Narmer, conquered the north and united the entire kingdom. This event kicks off what we call the First Dynasty, and it's the beginning of the ancient Egypt we all think of today. And you might be asking, how do we actually know this happened? Well, believe it or not, we have the receipts. This artifact right here is the Narmer palette. It's one of the most important archaeological finds ever, and it's basically a 5,000-year-old press release celebrating his victory. And it tells the whole story right on the surface. On one side, you see Narmer wearing that tall, white crown. That's the hedjet of Upper Egypt. Then on the other side, he's wearing the funky-looking red one, the destret of Lower Egypt. He wasn't replacing one with the other, he was claiming both. He was the king of both lands. This act of unification became so central, so important to the Egyptian identity, that they developed a whole visual language to celebrate it. They embedded this idea of duality into their art, their writing, their whole concept of what it meant to be a king. And this is the master symbol. Seriously, if you learn to recognize just one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. It's called the sema tawy, and I promise you, once you know what you're looking for, you will start seeing it everywhere in Egyptian art. The name, sema tawy, literally translates to the uniter of the two lands. That symbol in the center, it's actually a hieroglyph for the trachea, or the windpipe, which stood for unification. And what's tying it all together? Well, those are the symbolic plants of the two separate kingdoms. And believe me, this idea of duality popped up everywhere. You had the two crowns, of course, but Upper Egypt was also represented by the sedge plant or lily, while Lower Egypt had the papyrus plant and the bee. Each land even had its own protective goddess, Nekbet the vulture for the south and Wadjet the cobra for the north. I mean, this concept was so important that pharaohs were often shown as two people at once, just like you see here. On the left, he's the king of Upper Egypt wearing the white crown. On the right, he's the king of Lower Egypt with the red crown. He wasn't the king of one place, he was the king of two places at the exact same time. So the really crucial thing to get here is that this unification wasn't just some event that happened way back when and they kind of forgot about it. No, it was the ongoing central principle of their entire civilization. I'm talking 3,000 years. For 3 millennia, every single pharaoh had titles like Lord of the Two Lands or King of the Sedge and the Bee. Every temple, every tomb, every single monument was designed to reinforce this one idea. It was the political and religious bedrock of their world. Let's just look at the proof. Here's that sema tawy symbol carved right onto the side of a throne for Amenhotep III. This is about 1,500 years after the unification happened. And boom, here it is again. a few decades later, beautifully crafted on this alabaster jar found in the tomb of King Tut. Still there, still just as important. And one more for good measure. Here it is again, carved on a temple wall for Ramesses III. We are now almost 2,000 years after Narmer first brought the kingdoms together, and they are still carving the exact same symbol with the exact same meaning. The idea of unity through duality was just that powerful. So, in the end, that strange-looking double crown, it wasn't a clumsy design at all, was it? It was a constant, visible reminder that the pharaoh's power came from holding two very different parts, a north and a south, a red and a white, in perfect, eternal balance. It makes you wonder, though. This one powerful idea gave a civilization stability for 3,000 years. What's the single idea that holds our world together today?